Just in case you weren't able to make it to services this Saturday, here's a quick recap of some of the lessons I taught. First, I spoke about The Bachelor. Yes, you heard me right. The Bachelor. Rachel and I tend to watch it sometimes, and it was one of those things that happened during the pandemic. One of those weird things that happened during the pandemic was we started watching The Bachelor, mostly to make fun of it, but we do enjoy it. And there is a very much a definition of love that you see in The Bachelor. You see each of the contestants talking about this feeling. Do I have this feeling for someone? Do I have this love feeling? And if I have this love feeling, I can get through absolutely anything. That's all you need is love, as the Beatles said. And the question, of course, is you see them say this, I feel this feeling of love all the time, and then the relationship doesn't work out. Well, of course, why doesn't the relationship work out? Well, that's because there are other temptations. There are 29 other bachelors or bachelorettes, depending upon the season, things to tempt the contestant away from that feeling. And you know what? They even have feelings about many different people. So how do you create a committed relationship out of this difficult setting? And I think this is something we all deal with, and it was something that actually our Parsha Ve'et Hanan, dealt with very much. There is a famous verse, I think you might know it, the Shema, probably the most famous sentence in all of the Torah. We say it once in the morning, once at night. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is one. And during that Shema, we're supposed to take on this obligation, declare that God is our God, that God exists, and that God is our God, right? What the kids these days call defining the relationship, right? We define the relationship 2 times a day. Very important to define the relationship. Shema Yisrael in the morning, Shema Yisrael at night. But then there's a paragraph right after it. What is that paragraph, you might say? You might know this one too. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, also from our portion this week, and you shall love the Lord your God. God commands us to love the Lord your God, right? And gives us all of these reminders. You should put them on your gates. You should put them between your eyes, all these different things. And what I say that they are, we use these a lot in our family, they're Post-it notes, right? Post-it notes, you put them places that you're going to see, and then you will remember to do the thing that you're supposed to do, right? Little to-do Post-it notes, right? And the Ve'ahavta says, the way you're going to love me, right? The way you're going to actually create a committed relationship, which I like to say is what love is, right? Is taking that feeling and growing into a set of reminders, a set of actions to make that long-term, to make that actually a relationship, right? Love is actually how you change the feeling into a committed relationship, right? Happens actually through those reminders, through those different times. So God is saying to the Jewish people, you can't just define the relationship, you also have to create the everyday reminders in your life to keep connected to me, right? You have to put up the Post-it notes too, right? And sometimes people think, why do I need Post-it notes? I'm always feeling that love in my heart, right, for God. Why do I need Post-it notes? But you need Post-it notes, right? And that's what the Torah says. You might come into the land of Israel, and you might see that there are great vineyards set up, and there's beautiful fruit and mighty fortresses and everything you possibly need. And you might say, well, this was put here before God. Why do I really need this? Why do I really need this, God fellow? But you do, right? Because who put those things there in the first place? That's right. God is the only one that made us allowed to do that, enabled us to be able to enjoy those fruits. And you might possibly forget about from whom this blessing came forth, right? Because you might say it's about all these other things. These great other people who gave this to us, not from God. So the reminders help us to remind us, the Post-it notes help us to remind us where the gifts come from, where the goodness comes from. It comes from God. And so too in our relationships as well, we need to make those reminders between our loved ones. It was Tu B'Av, the holiday of love, which we explained in a different video in a previous post. And so too we have to have reminders of our love for the people in our lives. And those reminders that we have, those Post-it notes, are what we call mitzvot, obligations, religious obligations, actions, everyday actions that we can all do that help us to remember who we truly love and who we're truly committed to, which is of course God. Kenny Ratzon, may it be God's will that we connect more and more to God these days, and also do the small things, make those small post-it notes. God forbid be ashamed of the post-it notes, but the post-it notes are what make the relationship, whether it's with God, whether it's with other human beings, our loved ones, our family members, our friends, right? Those everyday acts of those reminders help us to love. So Kenny Ratzon, may God give us the strength to create those post-it notes that we need in order to love the people we love and continue loving them for a long, long time. Hope to see you next Shabbat.